God sent an angel to talk to him. The urgent message you need to hear now. God sent an angel. The shocking revelation to get out of debt. John began to reflect deeply on what the angel had said. Every word seemed to carry a spiritual weight that he was still trying to understand. He knew he needed to change the way he handled money, but that wasn't all. He felt that this transformation was greater, something that involved his entire life, his priorities, and even his relationship with God. The following weekend, he decided to share what had happened with a trusted person, his pastor. When he finished telling the experience, the pastor smiled and said, "John, what you experienced is a confirmation of something that God was already trying to speak to your heart. He wants to take you to a greater level, but you need to be willing to obey completely." This conversation kept echoing in João's mind. He understood that prosperity was not just about money, but also about living a life aligned with God's principles. João began to reorganize his routine. He set aside time each day to read the Bible and pray, something he had only done sporadically before. During one of these readings, he came across the verse from Proverbs 3:9-10. "Honor the Lord with all your resources and with the first fruits of all your crops. Your barns will be filled to the brim, and your barrels will overflow with wine." These words moved him deeply. For the first time, John realized that prosperity was not something he had to pursue with his own hands, but something he would receive as a result of his faithfulness and obedience. He decided to put this to the test. Even with limited resources, João began to use the first part of what he earned to help other people. He helped a neighbor in need and contributed to the church. At first, he felt scared, but over time, he began to realize how it impacted not only his life, but also the people around him. One day, while returning from work, João had another memorable moment. He remembered something the angel had said. God wants to prosper your life, but you need to take the first step. Until that moment, João had thought that the first step was just organizing his finances and being faithful in little. But now he realized that this first step also meant trusting God in every area of his life. He realized that he still carried fears, hurts, and insecurities that prevented him from moving forward. So he decided to give all of this to God. He prayed, asking God to help him get rid of these barriers. This prayer was a watershed moment. He felt immediate relief, as if an invisible weight had been lifted from his shoulders. Over time, João's life began to change drastically. It didn't happen overnight, but the signs of transformation were everywhere. He began to see opportunities that had previously seemed invisible. An old client who he thought would never come to him again got in touch to offer a big contract job. João accepted, but this time with a different heart. He was no longer just looking for money. He wanted to use this new phase to be a blessing to other people, just as he had been blessed. João realized that his prosperity was not just for him, but to impact other lives. It gave him a sense of purpose and motivation that he had never experienced before. Today, João looks back and can hardly believe the transformation that took place in his life. He got out of debt, achieved financial stability, and most importantly, found peace and purpose in God. But he knows that it all started with an encounter that changed everything. He always remembers the angel's words, "Be faithful in little, because the prosperity that God has for you goes beyond what you can imagine." Now, João shares his story with others, encouraging them to trust God even when all seems lost. He is living proof that divine prosperity is real and available to those who trust and obey. And now I ask you, are you ready to take the first step? João became a different man, but not without challenges. Even after his initial transformation, he realized that the journey of faith required constancy and new attitudes. One morning, as he reflected on everything that had happened, he realized that there was something that still hadn't been resolved. his relationship with his family. In the years of financial struggle, João became emotionally distant from his wife and children. He became absent, always worried about bills and problems. Now, with his life taking a different direction, he felt it was time to repair those ties. João gathered his family together one night and, with tears in his eyes, asked for forgiveness. "I failed you. I was so worried about trying to figure things out on my own that I forgot about you. I want to be a better husband and father from now on." Emotion took over everyone. His wife hugged him and said, "We're in this together, John. We always have been." This moment not only restored his family, but also strengthened the certainty that God was working not only in his financial life, but in all areas. The following months brought new learning. At one service, the pastor preached about the importance of being faithful stewards of what God gives us. João listened attentively, reflecting on how he was using the resources he now had. He realized he still had a lot to learn about financial management. João decided to seek knowledge. He signed up for a free course offered by a friend at church on financial planning and began applying the principles he learned. He put together a detailed family budget, setting aside resources for emergencies, investments, and contributions to causes he believed were important. Throughout the course, João understood that prosperity is not just about making money, but about how it is used to glorify God and bless other people. He saw that by being faithful in a little, he was paving the way for greater blessings. One day, João was called to testify his story at a church event. He was nervous, as he had never spoken in public before, but he felt he had to share what he had experienced. When the moment arrived, he went up to the pulpit, took a deep breath, and began. "I was a broken man without hope, but God, in his infinite mercy, sent an angel to change my life. He showed me that prosperity begins with obedience and trust. And today, I'm here to tell you, if God did it for me, he can do it for you too." When he finished speaking, João noticed that many people in the audience were emotional. Some were crying. Others approached him to thank him for sharing their story. He realized his experience had a greater purpose: to inspire and strengthen the faith of others. John's life continued to prosper, but he faced new challenges. One day, a close friend came to him asking for help. He was going through a difficult financial situation and felt lost. João saw this meeting as an opportunity to put everything he had learned into practice. He sat down with his friend, listened to his story, and patiently began to guide him. João showed how to organize finances, prioritize the essentials, and trust God to open the doors. He also shared the principles he had learned about generosity and faithfulness. A few months later, this friend came looking for him again. "John, what you taught me changed my life. Thank you for showing me that trusting God is the key to true prosperity." This moment confirmed something that João already suspected. God was using his story to impact other lives. Meanwhile, João began to notice something curious. The more he blessed others, the more doors opened for him. It was as if each act of generosity released a new wave of opportunities. Once, while helping a needy church family, João received an unexpected phone call. A large company, which he had tried to contact months ago, was interested in hiring him for a large project. This partnership not only brought financial stability to João, but also reinforced his conviction that God was in control of his life. John understood that prosperity was a cycle. He received to give, and by giving, God blessed him even more. One day, during his morning Bible reading, John came across another verse that deeply touched his heart. "Give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, will be poured into your lap. For the measure you use will also be used to measure you." Luke 6:38. He reflected on how this verse had become real in his life. John realized that his journey was not just about him, but about showing others that faithfulness to God is rewarded in ways that go beyond the material. On the one-year anniversary of the day the angel appeared, John organized a celebration at his home. He invited friends, family, and people he had helped throughout the year. During the celebration, he once again shared his story, highlighting that it all started with a simple decision: trusting God. He ended his speech by saying, "If I could give each one of you advice, it would be this: don't wait for an angel to appear to start trusting. God is already speaking to you. Just listen and obey." Today, John is recognized not only for his story, but also for his commitment to helping others find their path to divine prosperity. He created a financial study group at church, where he teaches the principles that transformed his life. At each meeting, he begins with the same phrase: "Everything is possible for those who trust in God," and that starts with the first step. And now, once again, I ask you, what will be your first step? Over time, João began to be invited to lectures at other churches, community events, and even business meetings, where his story of transformation became an inspiration. He was living proof that faith and action can bring extraordinary results. Once at one of these events, a young woman approached him after hearing his testimony. She said, "John, your story touched me deeply. I'm in the same situation you were in debt without hope, and I feel like God brought me here today to listen to you. What should I do?" João responded with the serenity of someone who had already gone through the valley of difficulty. The first step is to place your situation in God's hands. Recognize that you cannot do this alone, but also understand that your faith needs to be accompanied by action. Organize your finances, honor your commitments, and start sowing, even if it seems little. Trust that God will do the rest. The young woman's eyes filled with tears as she promised to put this into practice. This interaction brought to João's mind a project that he had been considering for some time: writing a book. He wanted to share his journey with more people and offer practical guidance based on the principles that transformed his life. For months, João dedicated his free time to writing. The book was titled Fidelity and Prosperity: How God Can Transform Your Life. He detailed his story, the teachings he received, and the practical tools he had learned along the way. When the book was released, João was impressed by its reception. He received messages from people from different places who had been touched by his story. One read, "John, your story has given me hope. For the first time in years, I believe my situation can change." This reinforced John's certainty that his mission went beyond his own achievements. He had been called to impact lives. One day, while reading comments on a video where he had shared his story, João found a message that made him reflect deeply. One person wrote, "I've tried everything but nothing works. How can I believe that God wants to prosper me if my life continues like this?" João felt the weight of this person's doubt. He decided to record a special video to answer this question. With sincerity and empathy, he said, "I know what it's like to feel this way. I spent years thinking that God had forgotten me. But the truth is that God never abandons us. Sometimes we need to go through deserts to learn lessons that will prepare us for what He has for us. Don't give up. Persevere, trust, and keep acting. God's answer may not come in our time, but it always comes." This video went viral, reaching thousands of people who were also looking for answers. João began to realize that his journey was just beginning. He decided to expand his message to reach even more people, created a YouTube channel called Path of Prosperity, where he shared practical tips, biblical teachings, and testimonies from people who had applied the principles he taught. The channel quickly gained followers as its approach was unique, realistic, practical, and full of hope. He did not promise immediate miracles, but showed how the combination of faith and action could transform lives. One day, while recording a video, João received an unexpected call. It was from a businessman who had watched your channel and was impressed by your story. He wanted João to speak at a corporate event for his employees. João accepted the invitation, but was surprised by the impact his message had in that environment. Many employees reached out to him after the talk to share how his story had touched their lives. One said, "I never thought something so spiritual could be applied so practically. You've changed my view of what it means to thrive." Over the years, John continued to spread his message. He became a reference in his niche, but never lost the essence of where it all began, the sincere prayer of a desperate man who trusted in God. He often said, "True prosperity begins in the heart." It's not just about money, but about living a life that glorifies God and impacts others. And to this day, John continues to ask those who cross his path, "What will be your first step?" As John reflected on all he had achieved, he realized that the greatest transformation was not just in what he had received, but in what he had become. He understood that prosperity is not just a destination, but an ongoing journey of faith, obedience, and impact on the lives of others. With his story spreading hope wherever he went, João recorded a special video for his channel, a milestone in his journey. He started with a provocative question: "Do you believe that God can transform your life as He transformed mine?" He spoke directly to the heart of each viewer, sharing the most powerful lessons he learned and challenging each person to take a step of faith. I know maybe you're watching this video with a heavy heart, feeling like there's no way out of your life. But let me tell you something. God is no respecter of persons. He wants to do something great in your life, just like He did in mine. The only question is, are you willing to trust and act? João closed with a strong and emotional call. If this message touched you, it's because God wanted you to hear it today. So, do your part. Click the subscribe button here on the channel to continue receiving messages that will strengthen your faith and bring clarity to your journey. And share this video with someone you know needs to hear this right now. It could be the push they've been waiting for to change their life. Leave your comment below and tell me, what will be your first step from today? I read each message, and who knows, your story could be the next testimony we tell here on the channel. Remember, divine prosperity is available to those who trust, obey, and act. And I'm here to walk with you on this journey. Together, we will live God's plan for our lives. With this powerful message, João ended the video, leaving a seed of hope and action planted in the hearts of each viewer. And so, his story continues, transforming lives, one message of faith at a time.